Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, Chads? Foxes?
GM, Chads and Foxes and Thor Foxes.
GM, welcome Foxes.
Hey guys.
I meant Chads as in Chad THOReau and Chad B, but that works too.
All Chad,
Everybody else.
all Chads here.
Yeah, that's right. GM, thanks for having us, especially on space number 69. I just realized that. That's fantastic.
Nice, dude. I can't
Wow,
believe we've done that many of these. It's been a while. There's way too many hours of us doing this.
Very happy that these spaces could do something my wife refuses to.
What? Listen to you speak for 2 hours straight.
I think we have enough to train the Chad B AI by now, just to perpetually give Chad B answers to any potential question.
It must swear often.
We'll turn up the temperature.
I don't even know if ChatGPT is allowed to talk about some of the stuff we're talking about, but maybe a jailbroken version.
It is. It is if it's talking about WorldCoin, but anything else, it's not allowed.
The Chad B bot just says whatever the hell the number is over and over again. But thanks for coming up, guys. Yeah, you want to get started and do your guys' show if you want to, make the announcement of the Shapeshift snap. That's a huge news.
Who wants to do it? Willie?
H-Pen, you want to do it?
No, it is. I did not build it, so I think I'm not that I'm not qualified, but someone else deserves the pleasure.
All right. Well, I'll take that opportunity because it's a pretty exciting announcement, and excited to share it with you all. That if you haven't heard yet, you can now use Bitcoin, Doge, Cosmos, THORChain, and a number of other chains with your MetaMask wallet. You can use that on Shapeshift, and you can use that with all the features that Shapeshift supports, of course, including THORChain swapping for cross-chain swapping. We finally brought that to MetaMask, even though we had to do it in a bit of a roundabout way, and also the THORChain Savers Vault. So you can trade some ETH from your MetaMask or some stable coins for Bitcoin, deposit it right into a Savers Vault, or Dogecoin, if that's what you prefer, or Cosmos. And it's a beautiful experience, powered, of course, by THORChain in the back end, MetaMask, which is the most popular wallet, and the beautiful Shapeshift interface. So really bringing together some awesome technologies that have been in the works for quite a while into a pretty game-changing experience that hopefully lots of new users are going to come finally check out and learn more about THORChain and Shapeshift. So huge props to the builders, DeFi Cafe, and the whole engineering team, and Pasta Ghost for building the snap. Something that we've been working on for over a year now. And so we've been waiting for this day and are super excited to finally be able to share it with y'all.
Yeah, I think Willie pretty much nailed it. It's pretty cool what MetaMask allowed people to do technically. So for people that are sort of interested, I put a little bit of a thread out, but it basically so MetaMask manages your private keys as a hot wallet and lets the snaps basically take control of those. So for the chains that like Shapeshift supports, and there's obviously a huge overlap there with THORChain. It allows us to derive those keys and manage them for all of the old UTXO coins. So that's like Bitcoin and the forks like Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and then the Cosmos SDK chains as well. So Cosmos, the OG, or Atom itself, and from there, like obviously Rune. Technically, we can do really any chain, but we've just decided to limit it for the launch to the ones that are supported by Shapeshift, just to kind of avoid confusion for users there. But the ones that people want to use, namely like the big ticket item being Bitcoin, there, people are able to come along with a few clicks, install the snap, click a few buttons, and then trade ETH to Bitcoin or back and forth with MetaMask, all powered by THORChain, which is like for something that's just launched, there's some rough edges, and it's obviously only going to improve on the consensus side with the Snap architecture and API they expose, but just people being able to use Bitcoin in MetaMask is a huge step. So big shout out to Pastor goes down the audience there, and also Gomes. So different engineering teams coming together to deliver both the Snap and then all of the integration throughout the Snap. And then, the UI to support that as well, and the UX, and Nine Realms team for, talking about it, and, obviously THORChain for making it actually useful.
Yeah, so you can pretty much do everything Shapeshift with just MetaMask now, right? So you don't need any kind of external wallet. All you need is MetaMask, and you can access the entire multi-chain ecosystem at Shapeshift. Is that right?
Sorry, I only heard the last couple of words of that.
Shapeshift.
We heard you. Maybe freaking Twitter Space challenges, but basically, DeFi, they were asking if you can use all the functionality supported by Shapeshift with MetaMask, and the answer is yes. You can do fiat on and off ramps. You can do trades, cross chain. You can access all the DeFi protocols, including staking Cosmos or depositing into any of the Savers vaults. So yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive experience, and feels a lot like using the Shapeshift native wallet. And it's part of why we were so excited about this, because we already had the Shapeshift native wallet that's open source and has been battle tested in prod for years with over 1 million wallets created. We had this beautiful UI with all these great protocols like THORChain deeply integrated. So it was pretty awesome when we heard that MetaMask Snaps was launching, and that we'd be able to basically add support for Bitcoin to MetaMask, which is something we had talked about for a while. I see John is in the audience, and I remember at a product workstream retreat, he was like, man, how cool would it be if we could is there a way that we could give Bitcoin support to MetaMask users? And I don't think we really had a great clear path where to do it. Maybe there were some ideas to kind of hack around it, but we heard about Snaps shortly afterwards, and we're like, holy shit, this is the answer. This is the ticket. And Shapeshift was in a great position to deliver it. And of course, the integration with THORChain makes it all that more interesting. Not only can you receive your Bitcoin, but you can trade native. You can trade from ETH or other assets directly to Bitcoin, which makes it the best onboarding experience, and does not require users having to KYC or jump through a bunch of hoops to get Bitcoin into their MetaMask wallet. So I think the MetaMask team's pretty stoked on the quality of the Snap and the whole experience that we delivered, because a lot of the other Snaps did not have any kind of UI before, so they had to build a new UI for everything. But we already had a lot of the pieces ready to rock. So pretty exciting. And yeah, I forgot to mention Bitcoin Cash earlier. So if you're a Bitcoin Cash fan, we got that too. But like DeFi said, if there's any other chains that you guys want to see next, let us know, because this is just the beginning.
Yeah, we were actually dusting off an old branch for BNB chain. So we already have Binance Smart Chain, but we'll have BNB chain soon. So yeah, expect to see that to come to the interface. That'll get us, I think, full parity currently with all of the chains that's supported by THORChain. And yeah, like Willie said, works with savers, and lending is definitely on the roadmap too.
Excited to bring lending into the fold too, and add that as another awesome feature for MetaMask. It's pretty cool if you think about MetaMask and how many features they've launched over the years. Snaps is definitely a big one, and there were 30 Snaps launched, so 30 new features for MetaMask, and the Shapeshift example is a ton of features just in one that just got added to MetaMask. So pretty big news both for Shapeshift, THORChain, and for MetaMask users as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure as they look at how the Snaps kind of develops and that ecosystem kind of starts to expand, they'll see what features are the most used, most successful, and bring the most attention to the wallet and the most user interactions, and just add the most functionality. And then hopefully those integrations like this absolutely huge multi-chain integration ends up finding its way into the wallet itself, which is it's a great end goal to be there. So it's hopefully this is a great first step. I mean, it's absolutely amazing that this is even possible, and they were able to do something like this. Basically just like make an app library for your wallet. Like who knew that something like this could even exist like a couple years ago? But now you got all these awesome devs building really cool apps, and we'll see what like gets baked further into the wallet and just kind of gets that deeper just native served experience, like being able to see your Bitcoin balances like right in your wallet and just similar things like that.
Yeah, hopefully this as a first step shows MetaMask like how much demand there is for stuff like this, and then that can just like pave the way for an even more like seamlessly integrated into their UI and UX experience to be able to like manage Bitcoin and swap multi-chain and all that. Are you guys watching like stats on this yet, or like just to kind of track how it's going so far, or like will there be any like dashboards to see what's going on through MetaMask specifically, anything like that?
Yeah, we've got some mixed panel stats already for how many people are using it. Not as many as we expected. So, like, I guess the best thing that all of the THORchat listeners can do is like basically spread the word about this. I think part of it is like it sounds like a scam. Like it nearly sounds too good to be true. It's like Bitcoin in MetaMask. But yeah, if anyone wants to go like rile up Bitcoin maxis and ask them why they don't want to hold some Bitcoin in MetaMask, I think that's a pretty cool way to get people talking about this. But similarly, like the Doge community as well. There's a lot of people. I know that the wallet support for that's not ideal, and like MetaMask holding stuff in hot wallet has its downsides, of course. But there's a lot of people that are kind of comfortable with that, and spreading the word to those people and just like lowering the friction, especially with whatever like is happening on X and Elon being a big Dogecoin proponent. I think if people just like kind of get out and spread the word, or just try it, and see what you think. Like it's very new, like you guys were saying. I think it's cool that we've got like such a functional thing from end to end, where it's not just like you can hold it, but you can actually use savers, you can do swaps, you can do everything that you would normally expect to be able to do with a wallet so far. Obviously, there's some limitations, like there's no hardware wallet support yet, as much as, like Parse looked into this deeply, but it's just not supported upstream. I'm sure that's something that we will down the track. Similarly, on like a technical level, like the Snap is not allowed to manage the EVM chain, so there's a little bit of a rough edge where it's like the wallet that you connect in MetaMask, that can be hardware, manages the EVM stuff, and the Snap only manages like the UTXO chains in Cosmos. I'm sure Consensus will hopefully loosen that requirement in future, so that people could build stuff like a signing adapter for Ledger or like Kiki, for example, and that becomes a pluggable part of the model too. But I think it's still a really cool start, and just more people need to try it, and we're more than happy to hear the feedback on what you think or how it could be improved, like within the limitations that we've got at the moment.
So speaking of those limitations, I like FamiliarCow's idea of like, could we have maybe a more integrated experience directly within MetaMask in the future? Past, I'm curious, you probably have the best insight into this. Can you talk about like what's available currently with like what you can do inside of the MetaMask extension UI, as well as potentially if you have any insights into what's going to be possible down the road?
Sure. At the current time, MetaMask provides a limited UI toolkit for snaps that sort of restricts us to. We've got some flexibility in layout of confirmation dialogues and all of that, but we can't really build rich integrations directly into the MetaMask UI just yet. Speaking with Christian Montoya some number of months ago, that's certainly on the roadmap. But the delivery date on a more comprehensive set of tools that allow for richer UI integrations is TBD. Additionally, it is, to the best of my knowledge, that they do intend to provide support for for integration with hardware wallets and the development of arbitrary plugins that are more deeply integrated with the MetaMask internals, of course, without compromising secrets that are held inside MetaMask. But again, that's some date down the road. So as of now, we've integrated with MetaMask as deeply as we can. We are up to date with the current state of the art as far as the tooling available through MetaMask snaps, and hope to stay up to date in the future as further tooling's rolled out.
Super cool. It'd be great if like one day they just add pretty robust support and for customizing the UI in there, and if we could like lift some of the existing Shapeshift UI that's already super smooth and mobile responsive and drop that like right into MetaMask, will be sick. So we can hope and dream and make those requests. And yeah, like DeFi was saying, the more we can raise awareness, the more we can make this multi-chain snap the top snap and get a lot of adoption. Then I think the more willing that MetaMask team will be to support functionality and requests like that. So tell your mom, tell everybody about this multi-chain snap.
Told your mom already, Willie.
Oh
don't
yeah,
worry.
I phoned her up the second you guys released. Is there is there an app? Is there like a leaderboard or whatever? You could see the most downloaded snaps, and you can kind of get a sense of which snaps are like getting a lot of adoption versus the others. Just because I'm kind of curious now, like how the others are faring in comparison to the Shapeshift one.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I got to hang out with a lot of the snaps team and permission list this past week. And for sure, they kind of hinted. Definitely, I think we all saw that like the multi-chain snap got the most attention on crypto Twitter. We'll see how that translates into like actual users. But Montoya, the senior product manager, said that the chain snaps, the snaps that add new chains to MetaMask, are getting the best results so far. Seem to be what people are most interested in. And they don't yet have a dashboard ready, but they're working on a dashboard that they'll be able to share publicly. So stay tuned, and we'll be sure to share that with the Thor community when that's ready.
Pastor, you probably know the answer to this. Is there any, I'm guessing the snaps are completely isolated and there's no like kind of API they can provide to each other, because I can't see any specifics immediately, but it'd be really cool to be able to like compose these things together. Like I can see a future where people have multiple snaps installed that each have their own like separation of concerns and specialities, and like together they work together as kind of a suite of things.
Yeah, that definitely could be interesting. As of right now, each of the snaps is sandboxed entirely to avoid sharing of secrets between snaps. But I can definitely see a use case for allowing snaps to communicate with each other via an API provided through the snaps interface. So I definitely think that's something we should raise to Montoya and check and see if that's not on their roadmap already.
By the way, for the Shapeshift team on the call here, Lena just pointed out to me that you guys are using a like 10 block interval for your streaming swaps on THORChain. And I don't know if you guys have saw it, but we did some like treasury testing where we took like 14 or 15 trades at 100K swap, 100K value in different directions of different assets. We found that even doing like 1 block intervals actually maintains the same price execution in the end, and it's obviously 10 times faster on the streaming swap, so you're exposed to less price volatility like during the course of the streaming swap. So something to investigate, or to spend some time kind of considering of like changing the policy around like what is the streaming swap interval for trades on Shapeshift.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. We've got a draft PR in progress right now. I would expect that it'd probably land in about 24 hours. I actually just tweeted it in the thread below with some screenshots and stuff. So absolutely, we started there to just get the streaming swaps out as a starting point. But appreciate that like feedback on it, and where like we will implement that to tighten those up. So soon is the answer.
Yeah, I just told him that actually earlier today. Like good timing, Chad. I was thinking the same thing, because I saw one of the big stream swaps that came in earlier today. I think it was 280,000 from Ether to Bitcoin. So another like just obviously great volume churning through the network there. So then I was like, oh, 10 block time. We can cut that down. We can make that at least 3 times faster, if not 90% faster.
Speed is definitely key here. Like it's just make everything much more efficient. It's just better for everybody involved, really.
Chad, could you speak
Yeah,
to like
faster is better.
the memo stuff? I was looking at your issue that you'd posted like 2 months ago on GitLab on THORChain. It looks pretty feasible. I can see a few like interesting bits with like how that registry is going to work and stuff, but might be worth talking about what that's going to bring for people, because we can easily implement that.
Yeah, that is something that's like going to be planned for version like 122 to be released out. That's the current plan, at least. My plan is that I also want to spend some time building like a Golang API backend that basically registers memos for people that anybody can like download that code and run it for their own UI. If you guys want to use it for Shapeshift, for example, it's perfectly fine, of course. But that's just going to make it so that people can make trades and swaps without needing to connect a wallet, and you can just do it from any wallet in the world. Doesn't matter what it is.
That's pretty sick. Reminds me of the OG Shapeshift, which clearly people really like that experience. And yeah, we have not ever been able to bring that back because it requires like contract interactions or memos. So it's super cool that you guys are building that. Maybe we can bring back like the Shapeshift classic experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's a funny thing that I think it was Plan B on Twitter was like asking for this feature the other day, just out of pure coincidence, and how like he didn't want to use THORChain, he didn't want to use THORSwap, he wanted to like just be able to get an address and send some funds, and that was it. And that's exactly what this is supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's kind of got a commonality with snaps in the sense that like it's the thing they both share from a UX perspective is lowering the friction for people to do this stuff. Like they could have done this already with our native wallet, but it means, they could have imported the same secret recovery phrase into MetaMask or our native wallet and done the same thing already, but the friction of using MetaMask is so much lower. And it's the same deal with like the memoless stuff. It just means that any wallet just becomes a regular send. So we'll be sure to punch that out as well.
Yeah, one of the additional benefits, just to keep on the back of your minds as you guys develop these like UIs, is that like you can also use this feature to be able to utilize like very long memos on on chains that have very small memo limits. Like I think Bitcoin's like 80 bytes is the maximum memo size you can do on Bitcoin. So if you wanted to do like a longer memo on Bitcoin, you can now do that via memoless transactions. So it kind of actually expands the usage of the network in more than one way.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Finally, some improvements to the Bitcoin protocol. Just kidding. Curious, does this work with the streaming swaps as well?
Yeah, it works with everything. So it's just you're just registering a memo, and that memo can be a swap with streaming swaps. It could be opening a loan. It could be adding liquidity. It could be like arbitrarily anything you want it to be. And so it supports all aspects of the network.
Super cool. I'm very excited about that. I see a question from Tigerix in the thread asking about SegWit native address support in the MetaMask snaps. Pasta Ghost, can you speak to SegWit and SegWit native in the snap and when that's coming? I will mention that we do support SegWit and SegWit native for the other wallets that Shapeshift supports that support Bitcoin, but I remember there was some challenge with getting it into the snap. Hopefully not an unsurmountable challenge. So.
Yeah, so since SegWit and SegWit native support is already added to the underlying HD Wallet native signer, that's the same signer that's in the Shapeshift native wallet is built around. It's just a matter of a bit of code wrangling in order to get the support added to the snap. So the answer to that would also be soon registered trademark.
Yeah, that's one of those other MetaMask limitations. It's like the zeroth one of the indexes in one of those parameters in the account path pastor. It's like we can do it, but they won't let us.
That's right. Yeah, we just need an upstream modification in order to be able to allow that in the snap. But the work to support it in the underlying signer is already there.
Sweet, that's awesome. I also have a question from Nassim around when can we expect support for DAI on Optimism, Arbitrum, or Polygon chain. We do have support for DAI on mainnet, on Optimism, on Polygon, Gnosis chain. We got the XDAI. The only one there that we don't yet support is Arbitrum, but I know that that's a very requested feature on the roadmap, and maybe now that we're past the snaps, we can look at prioritizing Arbitrum support. If anyone else knows if they have a better estimate for when that could be coming, let me know. But definitely know it's on the roadmap, and at least we got support for DAI and a bunch of other EVMs in the meantime.
Is that for Shapeshift itself, you mean, or for the Snap?
Oh, well, so for Shapeshift and the Snap, really, like Pasta mentioned earlier, only interacts with non-EVM chains. MetaMask actually wanted to keep all the EVM functionality out of Snaps and keep that with the existing MetaMask experience. But yeah, so you can use all those with MetaMask on Shapeshift. I'm realizing now that maybe they were asking for when those would be supported on THORChain. So maybe that's a question for THORChain crew.
Yeah, that's another soon with the registered trademark. I don't think like Binance Smart Chain just shipped, and I think that took about a year to finally get out. Also, by the way, I think it might actually be like ready to go, like as in right now. It seems like the outbound transaction fee was just set. So hopefully BSC is like ready to rock and roll now that we got the gas issues and somewhat fixed. So yeah, I mean, answer for new chains on THORChain is it takes a long time and it takes a lot of dev work and coordination and obviously like LP capital and stuff like that. So let's see how BSC goes, and let's see if we get a lot of liquidity, if we get a lot of trade volume, then like if BSC is wildly successful, then yeah, maybe we start going wild on some more chains. But if BSC is kind of low volume and not really pulling its weight, then that might pump the brakes a little bit on new chains being integrated if there's really is an appetite for people LPing. Because it takes a lot of dev work and testing and just general coordination to get this kind of stuff out.
Yeah, I totally understand. A ton of work goes on behind the scenes, especially when adding new chains, and especially when adding them to a network as sophisticated as THORChain with so many validators that need to coordinate. Go ahead.
Shapeshift and lending. That's something I want to see. So you guys working on lending?
Yeah, we had product office hours today. We got to see pretty cool sneak peek of the UI UX mockups that products put together for lending, which are super sexy. So it's definitely happening. DeFi, do you have any idea around like what the timeline? Are you willing to put a timeline out there, or do you want to just keep it at soon TM?
Let's keep it soon TM. There's some sneaky people sitting down in the audience that can make that decision or jump up and share if they want. But yeah, it's soon.
Looking forward to it, man. It's going to be very exciting to bring that to Shapeshift into MetaMask. Another feature that reminds me of too that we don't yet have on Shapeshift for THORChain, but that I know we have a lot of requests for, is the DEX aggregation functionality. So like being able to swap from any asset on THORChain to any ERC20 with liquidity and vice versa, which could also be another really compelling feature to bring to MetaMask with the snaps. DeFi, have you guys looked into complexity of that one?
That one's not too difficult, and it's something we should really consider prioritizing as well, because you're just punching on like a little bit on the memo as well. Definitely something we can do. We just have to kind of scope out where we're going to route that after THORChain. But yeah, certainly something it's tractable. It's just a matter of prioritization.
Fox, yeah, so much exciting stuff to build, and I think just worth mentioning basically that like for anyone who doesn't have the context, it feels really good for Shapeshift to be doing cool shit again. Like we used to be pioneers, and that was pretty awesome. And then we pioneered when transforming into a DAO, but then we also had to spend like over a year and a half basically rebuilding the existing Shapeshift, which if you guys remember was already integrated with THORChain, but was centralized and was not open source, and chose to basically rebuild a lot of that from scratch. We reused a lot of great stuff, but we built a lot of like the UI from scratch, and took a while, and like meanwhile, you guys and everyone else in the industry were like evolving while we were just rebuilding. So it feels pretty awesome to finally like be past the parity stage with the new open source app architected for full decentralization, to be caught up with a lot of the great innovations that we've missed up on, or at least be catching up on them, and then starting to ship really cool new stuff. So love to see it, and yeah, props to the whole Shapeshift community on that one.
By the way, if you're interested in doing DEX aggregation and this kind of thing, if I'm not mistaken, if you like pull upon the swap kit API that THORswap put together, it'll do all the calculations for you to figure out what is the different routes and what's the most efficient efficient route for a particular like multitude of trades to get a certain input to output execution going. It's pretty interesting API. Just check it out sometime.
Yeah, we could definitely get you guys together with some THORswap Chad devs if you guys wanted. Also, that what came to mind on that too is that question about other chains and L2s and stuff. But THORswap is working on adding that through Stargate and still being able to string it together in a single transaction. So that got me thinking maybe that's a route to getting those even as far as into MetaMask and still doing like one TX swaps to and from all these assets.
It's definitely doable because I think we've got some trade routes that THORswap doesn't have, like LiFi, Cow Swap, obviously like 0x and 1inch are effectively going through the same liquidity pools, just potentially different routes. But yeah, we could punch those on, and we'll definitely take a look at the THORswap's kit stuff for doing that as well. There might be some stuff we can leverage out of the box there.
And a lot of everything kind of boils, really what you were saying before is just removing friction. And this MetaMask thing just kind of, it's the same evolution of the same concept, just removing friction. Yeah, you could just do it in one wallet. Not that you couldn't just do it in one wallet before. It just wasn't the number one most downloaded browser extension. So it just kind of just abstracts that complexity and just makes it easier for a user just to not have to download and take care of all these different wallets, which I'm sure a lot of us have spent a lot of time and energy and heartbreak trying to like figure out which wallets to use for different coins and like making swaps. So yeah, I mean it's the most like downloaded wallet out there. So that's pretty, and that goes for pretty much every feature of THORChain. It's all about just like abstracting complexity and removing friction, which are kind of like two sides of the same thing. DEX aggregation, just making it easier to go across multiple dexes with one hop, and memoless transactions, making it easier you don't even need to account for the wallet when making a transaction. It's completely agnostic of wallet. Or streaming swaps, making it easier to split up trades so you get better price execution. Just breaking up friction and making it easier and easier to use all these on-chain things. And I mean, at the rate that everything's evolving, like it's just really cool to see just how kind of like feature complete everything is getting, and just like getting like a really really tight experience all the way around, from like the wallet side to making things like wallet agnostic, to making the swaps really good, to making the execution really good, to like adding more and more chains, to then making it so you can just loop between dexes and things like that. It's all kind of an evolution of the same concept, and pretty much everything that's being delivered in the future is like also the same, just abstracting complexity and just removing friction.
Yes, sir. Couldn't agree more. We're all about that, and it's awesome to see just like piece by piece more friction getting eliminated. We're definitely moving in the right direction in terms of like user experience and functionality, even if the markets don't show that right now. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to think about. Like, not only are we building a more transparent and trustless financial system, but also like we're on a path to actually make this stuff easier than even the centralized TradFi. So it's going to take some time. Like it's obviously huge, ambitious stuff that we're building, but pretty awesome to see these communities continuing to deliver and listen to you all, to our users and communities. And yeah, like it's important stuff. It's hard work, but we're doing it, and awesome to see. Like this is a huge step forward. I think a lot about too, like probably a lot of you on the call might have multiple wallets. You might have been in the space for a while, but I think a lot of users that have joined in the last cycle or since then, there's a good chance that they started with MetaMask, and that MetaMask is their only wallet that they've had so far. But anyone who's entered during a bull market and gotten hooked on all these cool different tokens and visions, and then experience what happens to those tokens during the bear market. I think that convinces a lot of people to like actually check out Bitcoin if that wasn't their first entrance into the market. So now those users finally can do it, and they don't have to go like create another wallet and back up another seed phrase that hopefully they don't lose. So super exciting stuff, and excited to see how they keep improving from here.
One of the funny things to me has been looking at people that are like, really anti-consensus, and they're like, oh my God, now, like, great, now I can custody my Bitcoin on this, like, spyware, like, app, like whatever bad thing you have to say about consensus. I just think it's kind of funny because it's like you can do whatever you want. You can self-custody it in your own hardware wallet. You could just have a paper wallet. You could store the seed phrase in your brain, and then like there's so many you could do anything that you want to. Like, no one's forcing anyone to use a MetaMask snap or anything like that. It's just making it easier for a certain type of user. So I just think it's funny that some of the Bitcoin maxis and just come out of the woodwork to just kind of just shit on MetaMask a little bit. I'm sure you guys have seen that too.
Totally. I was thinking about that when Chad was talking about Plan B. Like, we should tell him about the snap, but like, no way is he ever going to use MetaMask. So we always say at Shapeshift, like, we don't really care what wallet users use, as long as first of all, they're practicing self-custody, but then, hey, as long as they're using Shapeshift or using THORChain, we're happy. So just, again, trying to onboard as many of the masses as we can into this, into financial sovereignty.
Oh, we need all the Thor chats to like just start trolling the maxis with the Coparta memes and just put bulk Bitcoin in MetaMask and show them that you can, and they're just going to be upset about it because it's MetaMask. It's like, no, you can't put the orange coin in that wallet.
One of the things I find so interesting about just kind of watching all this like unfurl over the last few days is that like there's this like natural tendency in our industry to be like inclusive of like other protocols and other wallets and other dexes with other tokens and other liquidity, and interfacing and interacting all these things together to work in a collective positive good for humanity in one form or another, versus like kind of the more TradFi or CFI way of thinking, where like you try to build an isolated system that only the people that you want can use that system. Maybe you can create some partnerships with some other exchange or service or backer or blah, 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 whatever it is. But like it becomes just naturally competitive in a way that just like isolates and fragments like the industry as a whole. And in the inverse, you have like what THORChain's doing and what Shapeshift's doing, and like all these different things, like utilizing different services for different purposes when it actually makes sense, and freely moving throughout the system because everything here is permissionless, and so like everything's just freely available. It exists solely to be a public good and not to be like to try to grab market share and become the dominant thing, whatever the hell that thing might be. It's just like it's a much more like utopian ideal that like this industry is moving towards than the kind of like centralized TradFi, CFI way of thinking of like just trying to dominate everybody else.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. It's like that's where I can't quite understand the reasoning of maxis, of like Bitcoin or ETH maxis on either side. Like they've kind of forgotten the fundamental tenet that we're trying to build something open and should be agnostic to all of this stuff. And like Eric Voorhees gets a whole lot of shit from the like Bitcoin maxis, especially. It's like, oh, we thought you were like the Bitcoin god, just like you were the Bitcoin guy. He's like, no, the other things are cool too. Like it's a strange one.
Yeah, I always love it when I read like a tweet or something like this that's like yelling at Voorhees and like calling him like either shitcoiner or he's like, he's turned his back on Bitcoin or something of this nature. Like I always just have to giggle because like the guy has been around for like 12 years advocating for Bitcoin. There's like very few people in the world who have spent more time and hours than he has. in like advocating for the ideals and what it is that Bitcoin does. And to see people shit on that, it's just like, you're an idiot, man.
It's so true. It's like few people really can say that they love Bitcoin more than Eric. Definitely few of these maxis. So it's just hilarious. And he was like one of the first maxis to actually realize like, oh shit, like this Ethereum chain is actually pretty cool and can do some things that Bitcoin can't do, and Bitcoin community doesn't seem like they want to do. So definitely give him props for doing that when it was not popular. And I feel bad for all the trolls he has to put up with.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember this, Chad, but I'll never forget I think it was a Clubhouse you guys did for the launch of multi-chain ChaosNet. I think you, Eric, and then some of I don't even know who else was on it, but and just a bunch of guys. I just have a very distinct memory, just because it's Clubhouse, and Clubhouse just got instantly killed by 50 lines of this shitty code on Twitter for Spaces. But that's just a good memory for me, listening to you guys talk about the very, very early days of the ChaosNet launch back in like April 21.
Oh, yeah, that was 100 years ago.
Honestly, feels like it, yeah.
Big F in the chat for Clubhouse, by the way. It's the biggest flash in the pan of 2021.
I mean, it's still around, right? It's still doing its thing, I guess.
They actually moved. They're like a voice messaging app now. That's what I heard, at least. So that's what I see on the tweet sphere. They pivoted.
I thought this was Clubhouse. Are we not on Clubhouse right now?
Oh shit.
Goes to show that you never want to build a startup or a company out of a feature. It just never works.
Yeah, Twitter proof doesn't even need to be good.
Yeah, those network effects are hard to build and hard to overcome. Much harder to build than just a feature, that's for sure.
Hey, Chad, while you got a couple of minutes left, do you want to mention THOReau at all?
Oh yeah, I really want to hear about THOReau and Shapeshift, especially like how Shapeshift is going to use THOReau. But yeah, can we like run through like what THOReau is and then like how Shapeshift is going to use it?
Yeah, I mean, so THOReau was in many ways kind of birthed from Shapeshift in a sense, and in the attempt that Shapeshift's been doing about like going from a centralized corporate entity and moving towards a DAO, which is a very complex and a lot of moving parts like process. So I might tip my hat to them for sure. And one of the aspects that they were kind of having a difficult time fully decentralizing is how do we get our Shapeshift UI that connects to various blockchains and receives data or tries to transmit data or whatever. How do we do that in a way that's decentralized? And there's really no mechanism that exists today that does that effectively well, right? Especially in Shapeshift's case, because they couldn't just use something like an like a Pocket Network or Lava Network, because the structure of that data wasn't quite what they needed. They wanted to use something called Unchained, which kind of gives you more kind of intricate or complex queries that you can make on top of like Ethereum queries or Bitcoin queries or what have you. And so the concept of THOReau kind of was kind of birthed from Shapeshift's need to figure out a way to fully decentralize the UI of Shapeshift. And so early people like John and Michael Perklin started to work on this, and they asked me if I'd be interested in contributing and joining that kind of that goal, which to me I found it to be a critically important thing to do. Like it's almost a joke today that we as a community get kind of pride ourselves on decentralization, but in reality 90-something% of the projects that we even utilize today are not even remotely close to have a proper title of decentralization. And that's largely because like the back ends tend to be decentralized to some degree, at least depending upon how it's implemented, but the front ends never are, right? None of them are today, not a one. And so this was a hugely significant problem. This is a lack of infrastructure, a lack of fundamentals in the industry. You cannot build Web3 and tout its importance and how amazing it's going to change the world, but then in the same sentence say, but it's reliant on Web2 to function, which means it's not actually permissionless, it's not actually censorship resistant because at some point there's some centralized service that could shut the whole thing down, depending upon what thing we're talking about. So it became very clear and obvious to me, and I think obviously to the Shapeshift team as well, that this is a problem that not only that Shapeshift needs to solve for itself, but the industry as a whole needs a solution for this particular problem. And so for me, we started working on an architecture and design that how do we structurally and properly decentralize access to blockchain like data and information. And that's really the first phase of Archeo, is trying to accomplish that goal.
It relates to snaps too. Under the hood, the way Pastor implemented this is, obviously we have to get the gas prices, we have to be able to get balances, we have to be able to broadcast transactions. We have kind of a more decentralized way than relying on nodes as a service at Shapeshift. That we don't use the Infurias of the world. We have our own run by a community member, so it's like more decentralized in this stuff. But ultimately, all of those transactions going through the snap, you're at mercy of us. We could censor your transactions. We're not going to. But like Chad was saying, it's DApp front-end access, be it Shapeshift or THORSwap or MetaMask, to nodes is a choke point. It hasn't really happened yet, but we saw it with like post-Tornado Cash with certain nodes choosing not to do this. But like Archeo really solves this problem of decentralized access to node data, which is really cool. And like I can also see putting a kind of futurist hat on, that it doesn't just become node data, but it becomes like decentralized access to compute, because I think this is kind of what Pocket was trying to solve. And decentralized access to compute has really big like free speech implications, and is something that the powers to be really don't like. But as a first step, being able to broadcast a transaction, but not to any specific node that you have to rely upon or have access to, is a really big, step further towards, or further down that decentralization spectrum. Because there's always that trade-off of, we tried to use tools like Fleek, for example, which were hosting the front end on IPFS, but we had downtime issues that offset the decentralization benefits. So it's just cool to see that this is solving one of the serious choke points in the space, and it'll have benefits for, not just us, but the broader community.
Yeah, one of the funny things, if you think about it, is that like a lot of projects, and I would say 98% of projects in crypto, don't build decentralization. Like they don't actually manifest or do anything that is decentralized themselves. They usually just rely on the rails of something else providing decentralization for them, right? Most commonly, it would be like Ethereum providing the decentralization of running smart contracts on Ethereum or Polygon or whatever. And so like Uniswap, for example, has never built anything that's actually decentralized. Like they never built their decentralization aspects to their protocol. They just rely on somebody else to provide it for them. And we've never had the ability to have the rails, the equivalent rails for, interacting with blockchains, deploying UIs, removing things like domain names, right, which are also highly centralized as well. So it's just like there's no rails that exist for the rest of the stack outside of the smart contract itself. And that's one thing, is one of the problems that I see Archeo kind of solving is taking up the rest of the full stack that is, a Uniswap, that is a Shapeshift, that is a Compound or a THORSwap, and give them simple and easy to use rails that are just as easy to deploy your application in a centralized way as it is to deploy in a decentralized way. And once those two things are equivalents, that it's just easy to deploy your UI in a way that's centralized versus decentralized, it becomes hopefully clear and obvious to our community that, like, why would you want to deploy it in a centralized way? Why don't you just do it in a decentralized way, and then don't have to worry about anybody coming onto your door, knocking on your door and saying that you have to KYC your users, which is what many people in Congress have been talking about the last 6 months or so. And that just kind of removes the risk from you as a developer on Uniswap or Shapeshift or whatever, because it's outside of your hands of control entirely.
It really
I think
feels like.
that's a
Oh, sorry. One last comment on that. It really feels like an escape velocity thing too. Like until those tools meet parity in terms of like developer experience of like, can I do the same thing in a more decentralized way? It doesn't make sense. Like that's the kind of problem that we've had. But once they do, it's like, and they eclipse it by just 1% or even just reach that parity of like, I can get decentralized node data just as easy as I can get centralized, for the same price and same effort, then there really isn't an alternative. Like there's no reason not to, and the adoption would just go parabolic on any of these parts of the stack that get built.
that's next. Those are both excellent points. And basically, DeFi, I think you said pretty much what I was going to say. Basically, that like it really does. Like everyone loves decentralization. Everyone wants decentralization, unless it's harder or more expensive. And then oftentimes, I see people just take the cheaper or easier route. And then they find out, oh shit, we actually really needed decentralization, but we didn't prioritize it enough. So awesome that like Archeo is finally making that easy and available, so that not everyone has to build it themselves or do a super difficult, complex integration. And as far as I understand, like Archeo, because we'll have this whole network of data providers, basically like competing with each other to provide the same types of data in similar structures or the same structures. I wonder, like, is it possible that it would be even cheaper as well as easier for Adapt to basically like get their data from Archeo, because all of these data providers will be forced to like compete in a very open marketplace. What do you think about that, Chad?
Yeah, 100%. So if you look at it from a very basic economic perspective, there's at least two components of supply and demand, right? And so if you make it so that the amount of supply has increased, right? Because right now, if you want data from Ethereum, whatever, you have a handful of options. It's Infura, and it's ChainStack, and it's Alchemy, and whatever else, right? And you've got kind of a handful of these options here. And you might just go with the extra effort that Shapeshift has done and just kind of like build your own kind of thing in a matter of speaking. But like when there's only a handful of people who are providing the service, well, that means that changes the supply versus demand. But if you have a lot more supply, right, because it's very easy to spin up your own, Archeo data provider stuff and provide Ethereum data, well, all of a sudden you go from 5 options to 50 options or 100 options, whatever it is, right? And once you have a kind of an influx of supply, the price inherently goes down, right? Because the supply is increased, demand is more or less the same. And so it's a natural thing for that to become extremely cheap. And if you take it even to an extreme, if you want to take it even further, on Archeo, data providers have the ability, if they choose, to provide a free tier for their access to their servers, right? So maybe I want to say, all right, I'm going to give people like 1 request per minute for free, right? And based upon IP address or something like this. And then if you have 100 data providers on the network, so to speak, and they're all more or less doing the same thing, well, then you can, if you're a light enough user, you can utilize this data for free. Now you've actually gone not spending $30 or $50 a month paying Infura, whatever the hell the number is. You've gone to basically literally being able to operate UIs entirely for free, and it's not being charged to Shapeshift DAO or Uniswap's foundation to pay large sums of money every month to host or provide that data. It becomes a much more kind of like self-reliant and like self-sufficient way of operating, which is part of what I consider Web3 is just not relying on somebody else providing something for you, but you actually providing everything you need for yourself.
Is there any like date to? I mean, obviously, you guys don't have like a date planned out or anything like that. But like, how's the development going on Archeo mainnet? Like, when can we like expect to actually see something that we can use?
Yes, we launched a testnet about a month ago. The code, from a coding perspective, is pretty much there, right? I'm sure there's bugs, and I'm sure we'll improve things over time. But like, we could, in theory, just launch what we have now tomorrow and launch a mainnet, and people could use it and start like, you know, gaining value. Of course, there's like more polishing to do, and there's like probably some dashboards to be built, and you know, we need to do some more wallet integrations. We need to build block explorers, like kind of this ancillary stuff. But fundamentally, like the core protocol is pretty much you know, fundamentally finished and what it needs to accomplish, at least for phase one of this project. And at this point, it's just a process of like mostly around biz dev. So myself and another member of the team have been meeting one-on-one and video chats with various providers and DApp producers and this kind of thing, and just trying to build the marketplace, right? Of like get more supply, get more demand. Let's kind of grow that actual market itself, and over the next, you know, few months. And that's a long kind of like tenuous process, and it'll take, you know, many hours over long periods of time to kind of build that market. But that's kind of the main focus right now. We should be hopefully launching like mainnet and actually launching the token and doing the airdrop and all this kind of stuff. I'm hoping we'll do it within the next like couple months, give or take some. But right now it's not so much about building the protocol. Right now it's just about building the economy around it.
Awesome, guys. Any other stuff we want to bring up about yeah, THORChain, Shapeshift, or anyone want to come up in the audience, ask a question?
I just responded to a question from CEO.Thor, hashtag Maya Protocol. Is Shapeshift planning to make Fox a revenue share token? So I commented a link to talk about Foxy, which is a value accrual mechanism for Fox that is live right now. So there's a Twitter thread attached on that. And then also, it's a good time to plug Shapeshift governance. We've got a couple of proposals live right now. It's actually a counter proposal between DeFi and myself, and the community gets to decide. So
Yeah, baby.
check it out. Both of those proposals aim to increase revenues and add utility to Fox tokens. So we'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on those.
But most importantly, go and try MetaMask snaps if you haven't already. Tell your dog, your father, your mother. You don't have to tell Willie's mum. She knows already from Cow and I. But go and try the snaps. Tell us what you think.
Yep, she's well aware. Yeah, download it. Pluto made a great video. Sorry, Willie, of the you know, I can't even think anymore. Just download the snap, all right? That's all you need to know. Download the snap. Pluto made a video that says how to use it. It takes 5 minutes to set it up. And yeah, and if you're trying to onboard someone onto THORChain and start making their first cross-chain swap, this might be an easy way to do it if they're someone that's native to like a lot of Ethereum dApps, but you know, want to start doing stuff with Bitcoin or whatever else. Seems like a great way to get started.
app.shapeshift.com or Shapeshift on the App Store or Google Play. Go and try it.
So by the way, on the THORChain side, while we're waiting for people to come up and ask questions, we should be coming out with version 121 of the Thor node code, which I think the most important thing, or the biggest thing that has is around enabling streaming swaps for savers and for loans, which will be pretty excited to see that kind of finally land and kind of encourage larger trades or larger savers and larger loan borrowers, which are pretty great. And the other thing that's really I'm kind of excited to see in this particular release is to see keygen retries, and so people should have a lot more tries per hour in another sense to try to do a successful keygen, which has been kind of a pain point in the network over the last few months. But this should hopefully make churns more smooth.
Yeah, it's probably relevant to very, very few people, but yeah, that's an important thing. And obviously, savers streaming is like one of the that's huge. You can deposit pretty much whatever size you want into savers with 5 basis points of slippage. So.
Right, and it also helps people to keep the yield they earn, right? If you jump into savers and you earn like, you know, a couple of percentage points and then you spend it all on like leaving, then it kind of defeats the point in some sense, right? You don't actually you don't keep your yield in a matter of speaking, because you just give it back to the other LPs of the network. But this kind of allows you to kind of more accurately to be able to keep the yield you generate while you've been sitting in savers.
Is streaming into lending with 121 as well?
Yes, it is coming in there. It's a little bit different though, because the lending streams are they have a limitation of how many sub swaps can happen in a loan streaming swap, which is different than how it works for savers, and it does that in an order to like be to react to volatility correctly in the interest of the network. But generally speaking, it should give everybody as many streaming swaps as they need in a normal market conditions.
Super awesome stuff. We love the streams and are excited about lending and streaming coming to all these awesome features. So I got to drop, but I just wanted to give huge props to the THORChain community for building like such amazing tech that the snap would not be nearly as cool if you guys hadn't built the THORChain protocol. Amazing to see how much awesome stuff you guys are able to continue shipping. So thank you guys, and yeah, it's a pleasure building with you all. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Willie.
Thanks for watching, and Chad.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, do we want to wrap it up? I don't know if there's anything else that we really got.
Yeah, unless somebody has something in the audience they want to ask, we can wrap it up.
That's a nope.
Looks like no requests. We covered it all.
The request for Willie's mum's number will be declined.
I just got it off the bathroom door,
Oof.
Zing. All right, guys. Thanks for chatting. I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for chatting.
Do it.
Thanks all.
Later.
See you guys.